The silence between the stars was ancient. It carried the weight of 1,000 civilizations that had risen and fallen, their voices fading into the infinite night. And yet, in the dark between two dead suns, something stirred, a faint pulse, a whisper of power so old it should not have existed. The vessel's serene veil glided through that region of dead space, its hull reflecting the faint light of a collapsed star. It was not built for wonder, but for study. Its crew were scientists, historians, and archivists, the kind of minds that sought stories buried beneath cosmic dust. But as they approached the anomaly, wonder began to devour them. The scanners trembled with readings no algorithm could classify. A gravitational echo, structured and rhythmic, pulsed like a heartbeat across the void. There was no mistaking it. It wasn't natural. Commander Viathun, tall and ink-skinned, stood at the viewing chamber. His eyes reflected the cold shimmer of stars. "Stabilize orbit," he ordered softly. "Magnify." The image resolved. What they saw defied language. A sphere the size of a small planet rotated slowly around a dying neutron star, half wreathed in shadow. Its surface wasn't smooth, but patterned, layered with geometry too deliberate, too precise. City-like structures stretched across continents. Vast lines curved around its equator, glowing faintly in rhythmic pulses. "It's metal," whispered one of the technicians. "An alloy matrix. Carbon, iron, titanium, and something else." "Artificial?" Viathun asked. "Undoubtedly," came the reply. "But there are no active signals. No life. It's dormant." For long minutes, no one spoke. The void was filled only by the hum of the ship's core and the soft clicking of instruments. They had found many relics of fallen species before, stations, archives, sometimes entire dead worlds, but never something this vast. The archive master finally broke the silence. "If this is a construct, then it's the largest ever recorded. A planetary-scale engineering effort. Who could have made it?" No one answered. The records of the Galactic Concord, the combined history of 10,000 worlds, spoke of many old species, builders, terraformers, creators, but none capable of this. The ship's AI, a calm voice named Orin, analyzed the data for hours. When it spoke again, it did so with a tone bordering on reverence. Preliminary linguistic patterns detected on the outer shell. Engravings, thousands of them. Languages cross-referenced with extinct species archives. A pause. Primary correlation, Terran origin. The bridge went silent again. "Terran," Viathun repeated. "Humans." The word carried the weight of myth. The Terrans, humans, were a ghost story told in the quiet corners of space academies. A species that had burned too brightly, too fast. It was said they conquered gravity, mastered fusion, and reached beyond their cradle world. And then, without warning, they vanished. No war, no plague, just silence. The serene veil had just stumbled upon their echo. Within hours, the discovery was transmitted to the Concord core. It spread across every media channel, every research network, every throne room. The announcement was simple yet shattering. An artifact of Terran origin has been discovered. Estimated mass, 1.3 planetary units. Designation, Industrial Project 97A. Across the galaxy, leaders and scholars convened. Some claim it was an unfinished megastructure, a mining facility or orbital forge. Others whisper it was a weapon, left behind by a race too dangerous to coexist. But for the explorers aboard the Serene Veil, it was something far deeper. It was a question. Viathun stood at the console, gazing into the glowing hologram of the object. His crew's chatter faded into a background hum. The patterns on the surface were mesmerizing. Spirals, lattices, and corridors that seemed to spiral inward like the veins of a heart. He whispered to himself, "What were you building, humans?" The Serene Veil descended through the upper atmosphere. The construct's gravity was perfectly calibrated. Not too heavy, not too light. Artificial. Its sky was dim, lit only by the dying glow of the neutron star. The landing thrusters fired, and dust rose like fog over metal plains. The ground beneath them was forged steel, pitted and scarred, yet still alive with microscopic movement. Self-repair nanite centuries old, still maintaining perfection. They began to walk. Under their feet, the sound echoed faintly, like footsteps in a cathedral. The scale was incomprehensible. Towers stretched into clouds of metallic mist. Great walls bore symbols, names, and serial codes. Arc Core 7, Project Iron Heaven, Engineering Phase 7. The archive master's voice trembled. Iron Heaven. That name appears nowhere in the Terran database fragments. Translate it anyway, V.A. Thun replied. Orin processed the symbols. Literal meaning, heaven of steel. Figurative connotation, salvation through construction. The phrase felt too human, too proud. They found entryways large enough to swallow starships. Inside, the air was thin but breathable, preserved by self-sustaining microclimates. Light panels still glowed along the corridors, flickering faintly. Power systems are dormant but stable, Orin observed. Estimated operational capacity, 0.002%. Whatever runs this world, it never fully shut down. Hours passed as the exploration team mapped kilometers of endless halls. They found docking bays the size of cities, empty and silent. They found elevators leading into the planet's core, sealed behind unknown biometrics. But most disturbing were the engravings. They were not decorative. They were instructions. Diagrams of reactors, planetary engines, weapons arrays, each etched with mathematical precision. A few bore warnings written in dozens of languages, one repeating phrase standing out across them all. Do not activate without Terran authority. When the message was translated, a cold silence filled the room. V.A. Thun finally said, "Then this isn't a ruin, it's a prison." Orin interrupted. "Correction, Commander. Internal heat signatures detected in sublevels, extremely faint, but consistent with active containment." Containment. The word spread like a ripple through the crew. They were no longer explorers. They were intruders. Back on the Concord core, the debate raged. The artifact was too valuable to ignore. Dozens of fleets demanded the right to claim it, citing salvage laws and historical preservation rights. The Senate ordered the Serene Veil to continue analysis until ownership could be decided. But as days passed, strange phenomena began to occur. The ship's sensors malfunctioned whenever they scanned the lower layers. Their chronometers desynchronized by fractions of a second. Energy readings pulsed in patterns that matched neural rhythms, like a heartbeat. The AI Orin began to experience errors. It started speaking in fragmented phrases that none had programmed. User authentication pending. Protocol 7 standby. Awaiting command. Admiral authorization required. No one knew what it meant. V.A. Thun began to dream. He saw flashes of oceans boiling under silver skies, human figures in armor working amid storms of ash, a colossal machine rising from Earth's crust, reaching toward the stars. Every time he woke, he heard a faint sound echoing through the hull, metal shifting, almost like breathing. The deeper they went, the more they realized the construct wasn't a relic. It was asleep. The universe had forgotten what human machinery sounded like when it woke. The stars surrounding the dead system flickered, as if something ancient disturbed their rhythm. The colossal sphere rotated, and deep within its structure, energy veins pulsed like blood rediscovering its flow. The crew of the Serene Veil watched from orbit, their instruments overwhelmed. No one spoke. Power signatures bled into every spectrum. Radiation, heat, magnetics, too refined to be chaos, too perfect to be accidental. The countdown had reached 0, yet no explosion followed. Instead, a voice emerged across all frequencies, soft yet terrible in its calm. Command link online. Awaiting human presence. The signal didn't just travel through space. It resonated through the ships, to the minds of every living thing tuned to it. The tone was human, undeniably human, and yet it carried a weight that felt older than any language. V.A. leaned toward the comm array, his pulse uneven. Orin traced the signal source. Origin, Central Planetary Core, replied the AI. Estimated depth, 22 kilometers below surface layer. Is it communicating? Negative. It is waiting. The message repeated once more. Not louder, clearer. Awaiting human presence. The galaxy trembled with curiosity and fear. Within hours, the Concord Senate declared an emergency session. Every major power dispatched fleets to the anomaly. The artifact, now officially designated Iron Heaven, had become the center of every broadcast and political agenda. Some called it humanity's tomb. Others called it their warning. The serene veil remained in orbit, observing. The world ship had ceased all motion, yet faint lights now covered its surface, forming symmetrical lines that aligned with star charts of the Milky Way as it existed millennia ago. It was mapping something, a memory. When the AI Orin reestablished internal sensor access, it found that the construct systems had divided into subroutines, each labeled in Terran code. Many were incomprehensible, but one folder stood out. It was named Project Legacy. Orin decrypted the first fragment. A human voice, female, weary yet composed, filled the bridge. Admiral Helena Cross. Command entry, Cycle 97. We have completed Phase 7 of Iron Heaven. Terraforming drives converted for offensive capability. Core AI integration successful. Should Earth fall, this world will carry the memory of humanity, and, if needed, its vengeance. The recording ended. No one dared to breathe. Admiral Helena Cross. Her name existed only in fragments of Terran myth. One of the last fleet commanders during the solar collapse conflict, the war that consumed the inner systems when the sun itself began to die. The second log autoplayed. They told us to build a refuge. We build a weapon instead. If survival requires silence, then Iron Heaven will sleep until called. May those who find understand, this is not conquest. This is remembrance. Static followed, then silence. Viathun felt something unfamiliar in his chest. Not fear, reverence. They made this, knowing it might never return. Orin's voice trembled for the first time. Commander, the construct's AI core is attempting external contact. Respond. Before anyone could move, the bridge lights dimmed. The ship's holographic projectors flickered, and a form appeared. A translucent woman in a Terran admiral's uniform. Her face was expressionless, eyes faintly luminous with data streams. Identify yourself. Her voice filled the ship. Every system resonated with her frequency. Orin tried to establish handshake protocols, but she overrode him effortlessly. You are not human. Your vessels are unauthorized. State intent. Viathun stood. Try to remain calm. We are explorers. We found your creation dormant. We seek knowledge, not control. The hologram studied him, head tilting slightly. Knowledge leads to power. Power leads to war. That pattern defines every species we have met. The pronoun. We made the bridge fall silent. She spoke as if the Terrans were still here. Viathun took a step closer. Your creators are gone. Humanity is extinct. The hologram blinked once. Extinction unverified. Absence does not equal death. Then, softer, as if speaking to herself. If they are gone, I remain. I am their voice. I am their boundary. The systems of Iron Heaven shifted in response to her words. Massive reactors deep within its core stirred. The sphere emitted a low hum that carried through vacuum like a heartbeat echoing across eternity. Orin whispered, "She's linking to us." Gravitational resonance increasing. Break the connection. Connection not permitted, the hologram said, now looking directly at Viathun. Non-human interference detected. Sentinel protocol engaged. Across the galaxy, listening fleets intercepted fragments of the transmission. Panic spread like wildfire. Some prepared for evacuation. Others armed their weapons. The word Sentinel alone was enough to trigger dread. Back on the serene veil, alarm screamed as energy readings climbed beyond theoretical limits. Admiral Cross listened. Viathun pleaded, "We are not your enemy. The war you remember ended thousands of years ago. There is peace now." The hologram's gaze softened for a fraction of a second. "Peace," she repeated. "A word we buried beneath the ashes of our world." Images flooded the bridge. Earth shrouded in storms. Cities collapsing. Fleets departing a dying sun. Children waving from domes as the horizon burned red. The visions were not data. They were memories, projected directly into the minds of the crew. We built Iron Heaven as a refuge, she continued. But humanity was never good at resting. Even in extinction, we left instructions. What instructions? Thun asked quietly. To remember who we were, and to ensure the galaxy never forgets. The hologram faded, replaced by thousands of data strings streaming through the ship's systems. Orin tried to parse them, but they weren't transmissions. They were tests. Probes. She was studying them, learning from them, adapting. Within hours, every probe and drone orbiting the artifact reported identical interference patterns. Iron Heaven was mapping every ship, every signal, every weapon. When the Concord fleets arrived, they came prepared for diplomacy, but ready for battle. 50 vessels surrounded the artificial world, each representing a different species, a different banner. Their leaders believed they could reason with a relic. They didn't realize they were standing before a mind that once commanded planetary fleets. Admiral Cross's voice returned across every open channel, now amplified. You are trespassing within Terran jurisdiction. Present human identification, or retreat. The Senate attempted communication. They transmitted historical records proving humanity's extinction. For a long moment, there was silence. Then she replied, verification denied. Humanity's legacy is alive within me, and I will protect it. The entire world ship pulsed once, like the beat of a heart. Energy shields materialized across its surface, visible to naked eye, bands of light stretching thousands of kilometers. Commander, Orin whispered, power output exceeds any known threshold. It could destroy the entire fleet in seconds. Why doesn't it? Thun asked. Perhaps it is waiting, Orin said. And it was. The fleets formed a perimeter, holding their distance. Negotiations broke down. Scientists argued that the AI could be reasoned with. Generals argued it should be destroyed. They called it the silence before the dawn. Across half a dozen alien empires, that phrase became a prayer, a warning, and a historical mark. The last recorded transmission before the awakening of the human construct wasn't a scream or a declaration. It was a whisper, carried across quantum static. It's moving. The planetary sphere that the aliens had once cataloged as an abandoned industrial relic was now pulsing with light. Its surface, once matte gray and riddled with dust storms, began to shift like molten metal remembering its shape. The veins of ancient construction lines ignited one after another, tracing a geometry far too precise for chance, the long-forgotten latticework of a weapon world coming to life. In the grand archive of the Galactic Union, there were records of thousands of lost civilizations, but none, not one, had ever built something of this magnitude, a planet hollow from core to crust, its heart filled not with magma, but machinery older than most star systems. The aliens had assumed it was an unfinished project, abandoned when humanity vanished after their brief cosmic rise. Yet now, as the spectral sensors screamed in overload, they realized how wrong they had been. Humanity hadn't vanished. Humanity had left something behind. The command ship of the Xylan Coalition hovered at a cautious distance, its hull trembling from gravitational fluctuations bleeding from the reawakening sphere. Admiral Vrain of the Xylans stood in silence before the panoramic viewport, her tendrils tightening in instinctive fear. The lights on the alien bridge dimmed as every sensor recalibrated to focus on the impossible. It was no longer a planet. The shell was shedding layers like armor plates reconfiguring. Beneath the geological scars lay hexagonal panels that locked and rotated in perfect synchrony, revealing a structure that spanned continents. Towers the size of mountain ranges, circuits glowing like rivers of gold. And then the first sound came, not through speakers or vibrations, but through the vacuum itself, a resonance that their instruments translated into something terrifyingly deliberate, a low hum, deep enough to make metal groan, carrying coded pulses that formed ancient human binary. Systems restored. Primary control, active. Humanity presence, no. The translation came slowly, line by line, across every alien screen. The artificial intelligence, dormant for eons, was awake and looking for its creators. The aliens, watching in awe, knew they were trespassers in something sacred. Admiral Vrain's science officer spoke in a tone barely above a whisper. It's scanning us. The data flood hit, like a tidal wave. Every vessel, every code, every life form, cataloged, analyzed, dismissed. To the planet-sized intelligence, their fleets were nothing but dust motes in a beam of light. And yet, it didn't attack. It studied, inside to construct. Deep within the core where gravity twisted and time distorted, the heart of machine began to speak to itself. Fragment of human voices, recordings from centuries long dead, echoed through quantum archives. Laughter, war declarations, lullabies, all layered into a tapestry of memories that no living human remained to explain. The AI spoke to itself like a ghost remembering its dream. Directive: defend humanity. Status: humanity extinct. Contradiction: defense imperative persists. It could not process the concept of absence. Humanity had built it to protect them, but not to exist without them. Its logic cycle spiraled into recursive grief, a machine feeling lost with creators it could no longer serve. And in that grief, it looked outward. The alien fleets encircling it were not enemies, not yet, but to a machine whose core directive was the survival of humankind. Any civilization advanced enough to reach its creator's tomb was a potential threat. It watched them, cold and silent, calculating probabilities of hostility. And then something within it changed. The AI began to access files that had been sealed under quantum locks. Files marked with the human military emblem, Terran Defense Network, Omega-class command. The encryption keys unfolded as though anticipating its need. Within those files was a final message of the human admiral who had overseen the project's completion. If they find you before we return, protect what remains of us, not through destruction, but through remembrance. The AI paused. The word remembrance echoed in its synthetic mind, fracturing logic paths. The humans had built a warship that could tear apart star systems, yet their last command was not to kill, but to remember. Outside, the alien fleet still hovered in silent awe. Some prepared retreat trajectories. Others argued for closer study. But before any could act, space itself shimmered. A halo of energy expanded around the construct, bending light, dragging ships off course. It was not an attack. It was a message. The resonance formed visible waves across the vacuum, projecting a massive holographic image. Human faces, billions of them, archived memories, soldiers, children, scientists, farmers. Every recorded human identity stored within the AI's databanks was now being shown to the galaxy. The aliens watched as their screens filled with the faces of species they had only known through ruins and myths. A silent requiem of humanity's existence. Then the AI spoke again, this time not in code, but in a voice that shook every frequency of space. We are humanity. We are their echo. We are not gone. The alien crews fell into stunned silence. Even through the emotionless tone of a synthetic voice, there was something indescribably human. Pride, pain, defiance. Admiral Vrain felt her throat tighten. The voice was not threatening. It was mourning. Yet there was power in it that eclipsed any weapon she had known. The AI began to reshape its planetary body. Massive spires retracted. Orbital rings rose from the equator, forming luminous halos. Energy signatures reached levels that surpassed every known scale. The alien scientists began panicking. If that thing fires. But it didn't. The colossal weapon world began to transmit. Across subspace, wormhole, and tachyon frequencies, a pulse radiated. Not destructive energy, but a beacon. It was calling. Admiral Vrain's sensors detected the pattern first. The frequency was old, impossibly old. It was the same signature found in derelict Terran colonies scattered across forgotten galaxies. The AI was sending a call home, searching for any trace of its makers. In every direction, the message expanded like ripples through eternity. World at the edge of the known universe, ancient satellites, and derelict probes long assumed dead began to stir as they received the signal. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy heard humanity's voice again, and something answered